rehabilitated, and real entertaining. This is the Carl Jackson Podcast.
Welcome to the Carl Jackson Show podcast, your daily dose of objective truth in a world of confusion and lies. On this Thursday edition, guys, I want to talk to you about the psychological warfare that is behind gutting Title IX. There was a fabulous column written at the Federalists by a woman by the name of Andrea Mew, and I want to relay that to you. I want to break this thing down because I just found it so fascinating. What we're watching with this trans movement is psychological warfare. Many of you have been wondering, how is it that all of a sudden this issue has just blown up? Just exponentially. It feels like it's come out of nowhere. It hasn't come out of nowhere. It's been slowly creeping up. The left has been trying to use it in order to shape or reshape institutions, in order to undermine traditions. We'll get into it, but this is specific, it's tactical, it's strategic. We'll be talking about it next. Stay tuned for some quick program messaging. All right, welcome back to the Carl Jackson Show podcast. Guys, I appreciate you tuning in. Please subscribe to the podcast wherever you go to get your podcast. Just subscribe. That'll help us out greatly. If you go to YouTube and Rumble, you can subscribe there, but I do ask you to rate and review it. If you will be so kind, we would definitely appreciate it. That would help us to move up the charts. We sincerely appreciate that. All things social media at the Carl Jackson Show. And today's show is brought to you by MyPillow.com. Mike Lindell, the fabulous American that has created American jobs and American manufacturing. I absolutely love it. He's got this new offer, the new MyPillow 2.0 that's exclusive. This offer that's exclusive to my listeners, I should say. The new MyPillow 2.0, buy one, get one free offer. All right, the new MyPillow comes with the same patented adjustable feel as the original MyPillow, but it has this temperature regulating thread, making it softer, smoother, and cooler. All you have to do to get your offer, the buy one, get one free offer, is go to mypillow.com, click on the radio listener square at the top of the page, enter my name, Carl, C-A-R-L, or if you prefer, you can give them a call, 800-858-0263, 800-858-0263. All right, go to mypillow.com, take advantage of that exclusive offer. All products on MyPillow come with a 10-year warranty, a 60-day money-back guarantee. You cannot beat that with a bat, all right? Anyway, so check it out. All right, so now let me just read you the summary from this column, because I am starting to believe, like the CRT, the DEI, all of this stuff is cultural Marxism, right? All of this stuff is trying to get all of us Americans to a place where we accept these overlords telling us what is truth, what is not, how to behave, what is moral, what is immoral. But I am starting to believe that the biggest issue is this trans issue. And by the way, people are done with this wokeness. Overwhelmingly, I'm seeing more and more headlines. Let me just give you some headlines from yesterday. As a matter of fact, the MLB focuses recruitment on diversity to bring in more Black players. That one doesn't seem like it's so overt, but as you get into the story, it is. Spot the difference. This is called Black Privilege. That's a headline. And basically, it's the story of, I believe the gentleman is Jordan Miller compared to Daniel Penny. Both saved lives and ended up ending a life on the New York City subway. The Black man was arrested and released. Daniel Penny has to go through an extensive trial. He was obviously charged. Disney lost $900 million in the box office in the last year for a bunch of woke film releases. Biological male who murdered 3 people transferred to a female prison. These are all headlines this week for identifying as female. And behind the headlines are people that are just fed up. You guys, I'm sure you guys heard of this. The top Anheuser-Busch executives that sparked the boycott got fired. They couldn't say that initially, so they just basically laid them off. I'm not sure if it was with pay or without pay, but they couldn't say that they were fired or firing them because they didn't want to be sued. But now they are gone. I mean, the numbers are just plummeting. People are just fed up with this stuff. You can go online and you can see people are getting tired of this Pride Month. Now I'm starting to see tweets like, this stuff is just going on too long, in your face. It's getting absolutely disgusting. You have disgusting men with disgusting bodies parading around in pride parades, just totally butt naked with their stuff just dangling all over the place. And for what purpose? What? To just show your stuff, throw it in people's face, prove that you're a pervert and you don't care. I mean, like, what's the purpose? Pride in what? People are just done. It's become, it's overwhelming people, and they're done. And I'm so happy to see that. But I do want to talk to you about this Title IX, because this article was so fascinating, and I think it puts it into perspective what's happening better than most columns that I've read. So again, this column is at the Federalist. Why gutting Title IX is psychological warfare. So the columnist starts off by saying this: growing up in our post third wave feminism world, I always assumed that egalitarians wanted to empower women. You know, people that want equal opportunity for all people and all that. But as I witnessed male athletics celebrated for their participation in competitive women's sports, I see nothing more destructive to egalitarianism than how women are being affected by this overt psychological warfare. Perhaps there is no literal cabal guiding these tactical non-combat techniques, but the mass scale, listen to this, demoralization that's taking place in America is leaving women feeling consistently and systematically undermined. Now, we'll delve into this because this is very important. She goes on to say, what's going on in America isn't de jure psychological warfare, such as Vlad the Impaler, right? So it's not overt, it's not like, oh my God, in your face, right? Like sheer intimidation for the sake of intimidation, or through the she talks about Vlad the Impaler parading through the streets with victims pierced by vertical poles, or the Third Reich's use of Nazi rallies or aggressive propaganda, both intended to intimidate potential enemies. No, in America, she says, common sense is now lost in the shuffle as we allow de facto psychological warfare to demoralize half of the population and consequently completely downgrade women's interest as a priority. They have to do this. See, when it comes to this trans stuff, you know what feminists don't get to determine? What feminism is. See, in order to turn this country around, in order to fundamentally transform America, you have to accept that your common sense isn't common sense, that truth isn't truth. You have to accept the truth from the government. You have to accept truth from the overlords. And this is exactly what the left is trying to do. She goes on to say, by fostering an environment where, quote, women must lower their defenses, allow men to infiltrate their once sacred single-sex facilities, and be gaslit into affirming the false claim that there are no legitimate differences between the two sexes, there is now a war of nerves being fought by unwilling soldiers. All right? Man, that's powerful. All right. So to be gaslit, affirming the false claim that there are no legitimate differences between the two sexes, there is now a war of nerves being fought by unwilling soldiers. And that's what's happening. A lot of women are scared to stand up, but they must. And men do too. Men have to too. All right. So no hormone therapy, testosterone therapy, or testosterone suppression. I should say testosterone suppression in this case is going to make a man eliminate a male's advantage in sports. I remember watching this. It wasn't UFC, but it was a cage match like that. And I watched a video of this woman being pummeled by a trans. All right. I mean, just being pummeled, and I mean, just hit like a dude. And she eventually gets knocked out. They raise the dude's hand, kind of looks like a woman, but you can tell it's a dude. I mean, just jacks the lady's face up, man. And I'm sitting there. My instinct is to jump through the screen. I could barely watch. I'm not going to lie. I'm a wuss when it comes to videos like that. I don't like watching violence. Even though I like watching UFC. That is weird. But when it's meant, I guess when the competition is even, I'm okay with it. But when it's obvious, I guess that's what it is. When it's obvious, I was sitting there watching this like, why isn't I think I said that out loud. Why isn't someone stopping this? Because I knew instinctively, what is a man supposed to do? A man is supposed to protect a woman. And watching that, I just felt helpless while a man was pummeling a woman in front of a crowd as the crowd cheered on because a bunch of people accepted what the left is dishing out. So she says, so what good does it serve to spread that lie otherwise? Basically, that men could suppress their testosterones and eliminate their athletic advantage. So what good, she asked, does it serve otherwise? As it stands, the sheer fact that men typically have better aerobic capacity, greater bone mass, and stronger, faster muscles could lead a woman to feel like she's just cursed as the subordinate sex. But by embracing our differences and understanding the uniquely feminine roles we are often perfectly matched to fill, we're likely to instead cultivate a self-confident generation of women. The left can't have that. I just told you. They get to determine what feminism is. You don't, ladies. You don't get to determine that anymore. Not with Democrats in charge, not with the left in charge. And I believe they're synonymous at this point. So the left simply can't have this. And then she talks about the self-esteem generation, the self-esteem movement of coddling and overreaching and what damage it's done. Parenting methods that use this nonsense, educational institutions where people were just coddled, the trophy generation. I believe I was part of that generation. Not that I was coddled, but I saw it coming along, I should say. And that's done more to lower people's self-esteem because now you got a bunch of people in positions and maybe jobs, careers. They don't know who they are. They don't know what they're good at because someone has lied to them, including parents or educational institutions that says, go for this career, go for this. And they have no business being there. And they suck at it. Here's a story of a South Utah track champion, a woman by the name of Linea Saltz. I hope that I'm pronouncing her name correctly. But these ladies, a lot of these ladies are looked up as heroines to younger ladies that look up to them, that want to excel in sports. So this is a female. She's a South Utah track champion. Again, her name is Linea Saltz, who would wake up before dawn to get critical practice in, just like Riley Gaines, the swimmer. You guys know of her. I've heard her on plenty of interviews. I think she would wake up 4 a.m. To get her swim on before she went to class, and then after class, she would come back after classes in late afternoon to get more swimming practice in. She had to sacrifice a lot. No, there's no different if you're going to run track and you're going to be a champion. You're going to sacrifice a lot. So this woman sacrificed a lot, but she was sidelined in a competition by a transgender identified athlete. I'm sorry, who took first place for the indoor mile in her place. So imagine that. I don't know that this dude dressed as a woman, pretending to be a woman, trains as hard. I don't know. Maybe this guy is authentically confused. That's possible. There's certainly gender dysphoric people, so that's certainly possible. But she goes on to say, or Saltz did, the lady that was defeated and demoralized, she said, and I quote, as all of these women are putting everything that they have on the line to go ahead and race their best time of the season as fast as they can, Saltz told the Independent Women's Forum, the person that's beating them is being told to slow down. Can you imagine that? You're putting in, if you may not be able to understand this. There's got to be some way in which you can, though. But maybe you haven't been athletic or participated in sports at all. But for those of you that have, seriously, imagine this. You bust your tail to be the best of the best in your category, in your division, female sports. All right, you bust your butt to do that. And then you're like the number one. You're the best thing going. And as you're accustomed to winning and being champion, not by a large margin, but because you worked your butt off so hard, you're able to win the races that you've been training to win. But then a dude comes in, dresses like a female, and he beats you behind pretty handily. And you hear the culture on the side, slow down. Why? Because everyone is in on it. Everyone is in on it, except you. As a female, you don't have a say because you don't get to determine what feminism is anymore under the left. Man. I mean, that's hard. That is hard. There's a fellow track star at South Utah. What is it? South Utah University. So a fellow track star by the name of Madison The Boss was forced to compete against that same individual, same homeboy. She recounted that at the point you kind of know that you're racing for second. Like, do you know the feeling of that? You're racing for second. Like, you're number one, but now you're racing for second. So what good does it do to set women up for what are essentially Sisyphean tasks that sow division between the sexes through experienced injustice? She asked. Then there's a Holocaust survivor named by the man of Viktor Frankl. Many people listening to this podcast might be familiar with him, but he wrote the book Man's Search for Meaning, and it's a very popular book. But he said this. He noted that social injustices can cause more pain than actual physical suffering. All right, because of the frustration that builds up when our principles and our values are under attack. And that's exactly what we see happening. And then you lose trust in humanity. Your trust in humanity erodes. Why? When we watch the very systems we once thought were in place to safeguard equality, mutual respect, coexistence, they all fail. What's more, she writes, as part of the female sex, she says we're actually biologically inclined to experience more intense neurological reactions toward injustice than our male counterparts. And we know that's true by, to be honest with you, black baby mamas. You say the word racism, they're gonna stick up for their child. Boy, girl, it doesn't matter. There's a visceral, there's an emotional reaction that you see. They're going to stick up for them. But imagine when your institutions are corrupted. All of those institutions that once provided common sense, whether it's the DOJ, Department of Justice, Law and Order. We went over the story the other day with the 16 bombshells on Hunter Biden from the IRS whistleblower report. Educational institutions that used to teach common sense, that used to actually teach science, that knew the difference between men and women, no longer do. Science is uprooted. Medical, to get accreditations that you need as far as becoming a doctor and stuff like that. The science is different. You're looking at penises and vaginas, but for some reason you can't say, even though you scientifically know it to be true, you can't say what's right in front of your eyes because now the government is telling you what's true, despite the fact that you're the expert. Man, this stuff is so damaging. Church and family. There are churches that accept this nonsense, the LGBTQ activism. There's churches out there that accept this. It's absolutely insane. And they'll claim the name of Jesus Christ. It's insane. Family. All of these institutions are being undermined by this trans movement. So females are being demoralized en masse, and intentionally so, to accept the injustices and the effort to erase women altogether. And so it's working. Now, we look at the Riley Gaines of the world, the April Hutchinsons, Taylor Silverman, Madison Kenyon, these women that have been standing up. And frankly, I knew of April Hutchinson and Riley Gaines. But these other women, praise God, that are standing up. But the point is, for all of these brave women that stand up, there are tons behind them that are scared to stand up. Why are they scared to stand up? Because they'll be called bigoted. They'll be called transphobe. And that's everything to them. I look at this as a conservative and I'm like, for real? You're going to stop believing what you believe because people call? Yes, when that's all you have, when you've been told that there is no God or haven't been taught about God, man, your acceptance comes from, is determined by other people. Your acceptance in this world is determined by other people. You're scared of that. You're scared of that. So they're being tormented. They get isolated. They get driven out of the programs that they work so hard to compete in. They don't want that to happen to them. And sadly, there's way more of them than there are Riley Gaineses. And so this is working. Now, back in 1984, let me read this part to you because she adds this to her column. In 1984, a former KGB agent by the name of Yuri Alexandrov Bezmenov outlined how the Soviet Union used its mind games to subvert the American tradition. All right, the Soviet Union did, and undermined psyches across the United States. So Urey explained how that ideological subversion begins with the demoralization and takes place out in the open, not in secret, but out in the open for everyone to see, saying that you can see it with your own eyes. You can see it with your own eyes. It takes people up to 20 years to become reprogrammed, or upwards of 20 years. All right. So that's what the left wants to do. Following this, new ideologies are able to be replaced with the or old ideologies or old traditions are able to be replaced with the new stuff. All right. Fake news becomes normalized. And as Bisminoff put it, then you may kiss goodbye to your freedom. So that's what the left is trying to do. They're undermining truth. They're determining what truth is. And they even have to turn on their lefty friends. All these radical feminists, they're going to have to say, they're going to accept and bow down, or they're going to be victims of the left themselves. They're going to be victims of the commies. Because eventually the goal is to undermine our traditions, to subvert truth as we know it, and it's happening. So the new gender revolutionaries are using Soviet tactics to undermine everything that we know to be good about America, and it's working. So anyway, listen, guys, I appreciate you tuning in to this edition of the Carl Jackson Show podcast. I just thought this is a conversation worth having. Matt Walsh has been doing an excellent job. You know, obviously he's done the documentary, What is a Woman? Very important. And the more I think through this stuff, I think he's absolutely right. This is so much more important than CRT and DEI. Even though those are very important. All right. But this totally undermines truth. And it undermines truth right before your eyes, this trans movement. It's got to be stopped. It's got to be stopped. All right, guys, I appreciate you tuning in to this edition of the Carl Jackson Show podcast. Until next time, don't grow weary doing good. God bless you.